Hey everybody. So I'm coming back on here with a transparency video to talk about my healing journey. And I hope that this encourages and bless someone because it's a lot of us that be out here silently going through and then we don't want to speak up or we feel like we don't really have anybody to talk to that really gets it and understand. Especially when it could come to family and even, you know, friends. I am blessed to have people in my life that I can, vent to, but then even some things I withhold from them because there's things that um, I need to just work out on my own between me and God. You know, I want to talk about how when you're walking with God, the different twists and turns that you go through that nobody tells you about. Nobody told me that when I got saved, I got saved in 2009 and how it's a beautiful thing to get saved, get baptized. Um, but they don't tell you that the enemy coming for you after that. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that he's going to come at you. They don't tell you to prepare yourself. They don't tell you, like Brother Philip Anthony Mitchell is saying to us now, to wring out our hearts before God. It always seems like, that new feeling just seems so great. You just feel like you're floating on the sky, floating in the sky, and you're high above the clouds and all this different type of stuff. Everything is new, which is supposed to be because you're now new in Christ, but there's a battle that you're going to face, and I have faced that since 2009. Being in the world, one foot in the world. No, I'm going to say both of my feet were in the world at that time. Living my life like I'm a single woman, and at that time, I was married. I got married at 20. And one thing I want to say, when you're young, that age, if you are not grounded in God, my gosh, you just don't realize what comes your way. You don't realize that, as I have said previously before, if you sow into fornication before you get married, you're going to reap some things in your marriage. And as God told me, one of those things could be adultery. You open up you and your spouse open up the door to the enemy when you were in disobedience, in fornication, and then you're walking into a holy covenant with God, and now the enemy is mad. He didn't care when you were in the sin of fornication. You were doing what he wanted you to do, but now you're going into holiness with God, and he hate marriages. He hate our covenant with God. We are the bride to Christ. So he hates us. So why wouldn't he hate, marriages that people have on earth? And when you're young and, you have issues of your heart that you're not really aware of, yeah, you can most definitely say you, yourself, your spouse, your marriage could be set up for doom, for failure. But one thing I can say is that through the twists and turns of my life, what I have learned is that um, God will use the most hurtful things to raise you up, to mature you, to refine you, to stretch you, you know, um, to produce in you his characteristics. And one thing he used was my marriage. Me standing for my marriage like 5 years ago, when I had came out the world, really standing, and then the different twists and turns of what I went through while standing. It is so easy. I'm just going to be real. It's so easy to blame a person for why things did not turn out the way that you thought that they were. But God pointed out to me over a year ago, or just really recently, a few months back, that the very things that could be going on in a spouse is the very things that is going on in yourself. And this is why I'm so adamant about the fact about being still and heal, and really, like Brother Philip Anthony Mitchell, I would say, wringing out our heart, being honest with God about the things that's in our heart, because sometimes you don't even know that these things are buried there. Like, I didn't even know, like, certain things that I'm confessing to God to break, generational curses and strongholds, yokes of bondage and soul ties. I wasn't even aware that these things, certain specific things were there, but now I can see evidence of things in me, and the things in um, my spouse, the spouse that I was with. I can see that. And what he is doing is, to me, he is teaching me to be still, and he's teaching me to heal, from them things, so that I can be a great encouragement to other people, and let other people know you can overcome, especially if you are really committed to God and you want that to be so for your life. I know what it's like to be fantasizing, to be in the world talking about, well, I know I'm good because I work, I cook, I clean, I'm this, I'm that. And God said to me one time, stop saying that you're good, because you have yet to be good to me. That was like, wow. Like, so you could be thinking like you're good because you're doing all this stuff. You're going to school. You holding down a job. You paying your bills. You're not out there doing this and not out there doing that. You feel like certain things that you're doing is harmless. You think that you're good, but it's not about being good. It's about being holy. It's about your mind being transformed to the mind of Christ. It's about your body being subject to the will of the Lord and not your very own. It is about surrendering yourself and really trusting Him. And what He pointed out to me is, I love the Lord. I truly, truly do. I love Him. I love Him. I know He died for my sins. But what I have struggled with is really trusting Him. And that comes from the way in which I have been treated by men. And that started with my dad. That started with, my grandfather. They put things in me, where rejection and abandonment was there, but I didn't think it was at the surface. I didn't think that it was like, it wasn't at the surface, I should say. It was hidden. These things was hidden, and because they was hidden, it had me stumbling, with really trusting God, because when you're hurt like that coming up, and you know trust is stripped away from you, by people who you think that you should be able to trust, people that was put in your life to protect you and make you feel secure, and then they strip you from that security. You I was one that was, and I know this is wrong, this is what was wrong for me to do, but I'm just going to be real. I was like comparing God to like a father here on earth, like a person here on earth, and you can't do that. Now I know. And I'm so glad that God allows us to be really transparent and He wants us to express what's deep in our hearts. He don't want us to hold those things in, because the very things we're holding in is the ammunition the enemy keeps using to have us bound. This is why I would be following Christ one minute, go back to the world. Follow Christ one minute, go back to the world. Like I kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because I was not one that was being transparent before God and really speaking my truth and letting Him know all these different things that was hidden in my heart. I was not doing that. But now, and it's so crazy we don't, because He already know. He wants us to tell the truth. But when you don't really have a intimate relationship with Him like that, you will stay in a place of guilt and shame and condemnation, and that is the enemy. So I tell anybody that is watching today, if you are on a healing journey, let God be God in your life, in every area of your life. Now, I'm not saying that I am perfect with it, because I'm not, but what I am is I'm honest. I'm honest with Him about how I feel. If I feel discouraged, if I feel hurt, if I feel disappointed, because I was one that I would just hold it in. I wouldn't say it, like, I just didn't bring it to Him. I just would just have it, just have it hidden, and that's silent torment. No, get that stuff out. Don't feel ashamed to tell your story. Don't feel ashamed. Don't let nobody make you feel ashamed to express, what's going on in your heart. Because for me, like I told the Lord, what I always desired was to have love in my life, truly to be loved, to feel the protection, the security, of love from a man. I always desired that. But what I was doing, I was going about it the wrong way. I was chasing for it in the wrong men. I was hurting myself in the process every time I would connect with a person out of brokenness, because honestly, when you're broken, you are connecting to a person out of a trauma place and not a healed one. And this is why I say, again, it's so important that we be still and heal. And we really tell people the truth about what's going on in our hearts. You know, if you are going to have a partner, why not confess the truth to them? But you ain't never going to know the truth if you're not being still before God so he can reveal that to you. And so now I thank him because it's easier to tell him the truth. And as I have, he showed me, like, I've been like the Samaritan woman by the well. You know, anytime you continue to connect with people, you know, trying to have a relationship with people, and you don't get that, you're disappointed, you're left with such disappointment and such, you know, like you just feel down, you feel disappointed, you just feel like, oh my gosh, how come it can't just be simple? I love you, love me, I love you, we do it together, it's me and you against the world. But we don't realize it is really the world that is against us. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have the discernment to know that, again, you will continue to keep thinking it's the person that you with. And then also too, sometimes it is not meant for another person to give you that. It's meant for God to give you that. It's meant for God to give you that love. It's meant for him to fill you up with the righteous love. You know, there's a worldly love and there's a righteous love. A worldly love looks different than a righteous love. A righteous love opens your eyes, man. It makes you soft. It makes you vulnerable. It makes you strong. It makes you, to me, it makes you honest. Um, it makes you forgive quick. You know, it's a lot of different things that come with having the love of God in you. And when you have the love of God in you, you are so full that you don't need to be looking for somebody to feel anything in you. You don't, because again, I said it in a previous video, it's like an emptiness, it's a void that's inside of you that you're trying to have a body feel, a person feel, when it's only meant for God. That's why I love, you know, what he said to the Samaritan woman, what I will give to you, you will thirst no more. Because anytime we continue to give ourselves to someone that we're not married to, we're depleting ourselves. And even if you are in a marriage and you're cheating, you're depleted. You're going from one situation to another situation. You are becoming depleted. And it is only meant for God to fill you up. And when he do, you won't thirst. When you get depleted, you thirsty. You dry. So when he fills you up, you won't have that thirst. You won't be dry. You will be filled with the goodness of God. And so it is my hope that we as a people will start normalizing being still and healed. There's nothing wrong with being by yourself. There's nothing wrong with allowing God to just love on you and go through the motions. You know, go through the motions of purging, because you're going to go through the motions. You're going to go through the motions of being purged of everything unlike him. Remember, as I have said this before, he can take you out of the wilderness of the world, but it takes time for that world to come up out of you. And you want to be in a place when it is time for you to join with someone. You want to be in a place where you are healthy in your heart and your mind. You do not want to be deceived by the ways of this world, where people are thinking that they are following God and they are quoting these scriptures and they're saying that how much they love him, and yet they're fornicating or they're in adultery. That is not of God. God do not play that. So I just wanted to encourage you today to continue to fight the good fight of faith, and just know, brother and sister, that you are not by yourself.